Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats, talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. This some weeding now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. All right, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to another episode of the Penny Bloom Podcast. 'Tis I, Colton Robertson, and I am joined by Tavarus Pennington. What's up, homie?
Hello. How we doing out there in the interweb worlds?
Yeah, the interweb worlds. How are you doing out there? I'm doing swell. I don't know about you. We're here today to reflect. Not on our own actions. No, we're perfect. We are here to talk about 2021's pop culture. We're doing movies, TV, music, anything new from this year that we might have watched or listened to. We're going to take it a month at a time. I think this is going to be a fun little method, just to kind of relive the year in a way, and however long this takes us. But yeah, starting with January, going through December. This was a fun little list to put together that I have in front of me, like all the movies, because there were some cases where it was like, holy shit, that was a good fucking month.
Yeah.
And then there are other cases where it's like, wow, ain't shit happened that month.
And you kind of have to accept the inconsistency amidst, all of the changing circumstances and how quickly they change.
That's true. And I also only put when, like, for TV shows, I only put when they premiered, like whatever month they premiered, I put them for that month. But multiple of them ran for multiple months, so I was occupied with them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, like, there's also that. But yeah, movies was it was a particularly good year for movies.
It felt like a comeback year,
Absolutely. After 2020, it kind of needed to be.
Ideally, all of these movies would have came out last year, which is wild to think about. But that's really what has happened. Everyone just kind of put their lives on hold for a year. Yeah. And maybe we'll be doing it for another year. Who knows?
Who knows? Hopefully we can get our shit together. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Yeah. But let's start with January. Going into January, I was focused on primarily one thing. And it was a TV show called WandaVision. Now, we just had an episode for 2021's comic book movies and TV shows, so we won't spend much time or any time really discussing those, but they'll get mentioned because, they were big moments from the year, because they're the biggest entertainment thing in America right now and pretty much in the world. But in the movies category, we got a new one that was an HBO Max and theater day-and-day release, The Little Things, with Rami Malek, Denzel Washington, and Jared Leto. And boy, with a cast like that movie must be fucking great.
You couldn't even, and I should have known initially, because you watch, it's almost like the trailer for that movie is carried by the presence of those three actors. And the trailer doesn't give you any real sense of what the plot is going to be about, what this movie is about.
And hey, neither does the movie.
Which is that's kind of what I realized the first time I watched it. It was I kind of felt confident in a way, knowing that walking out of that movie, I was able to identify the ways that it just missed the mark. Because I don't know, it was on face an expensive movie, a movie that obviously had talented actors portraying key roles, and yet somehow it just fell flat on its face.
It was terrible.
It was not good. It was not good.
But yeah, and it was a rough way to start 2021. But it really only goes uphill from there for me in terms of month by month. In terms of music,
there wasn't really any big releases in January, and so like when I was looking for what came out in January, what I listened to, I happened upon Lyrics to Go Volume 2 by Code of the
Yes.
Friend.
Yep. There was that was an EP, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you've been telling me about Code of the Friend since high school. Like, he's been around for a while. And I just feel like I didn't really, really listen to him until this year for some reason.
He's seen a little bit, like every time we talk about him, every time he comes up, he's
Mhm.
seen a little bit of a glow up since the last time we talked about him. And
Right.
it's not like he's not made a massive leap. He's
hmm
he's not by any means a star or anything,
hmm
but he's just a talented dude who keeps doing his thing, and because he's a talented dude who keeps doing his thing, he keeps gaining notoriety. People
Yeah.
keep learning about him. People keep liking him, and he keeps making good music.
Yeah.
So it's like, good on him. He's got one of the most interesting little artist careers I've ever seen for that very reason, because he does have a base. Like, there are people who love Code of the Friend.
Yeah.
And, but for some reason, he just hasn't seen the massive pop to stardom. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about his album from March.
Oh yes.
But
And we did talk about that on an episode at one point.
We did. But I was in January. I also kind of was like, wow, there's a lot of things that I listened to release, but I didn't, because I just didn't really listen to it for. I guess the only one that doesn't fit in that category is Little Sky's album that dropped in January, titled "Unbothered," which is apt because I was not
Didn't bother
bothered
to
to
make
listen
its
to
way
it.
across any of my awareness.
Yeah,
Social media, nothing. Never
yeah,
heard of it. Never
never
even
heard of it.
saw that he dropped another album since that one that he dropped in like January of 2018.
His debut album.
Yeah.
And that was before he was I think he was totally independent at that point. And obviously since then he's not.
Yo, and that one went crazy.
It was good though. That's the thing actually. It was good. The first half was phenomenal. I will still go listen to that first half of the album and be like, wow. But the second half was not good of that album. Like, we just can't say that. I think it was called Life of a Dark Rose.
Yeah.
The second half was not good. It has that one song, Nowadays, that was on the second half. That was like the hit single from the album. So of course that one was going to be good. But everything else, it was mediocre. It was mediocre and inconsistent, and we should have known that, because that's pretty much how Little Skies' career has gone.
Hey, but at least he made it enough to be able to afford the face tattoos he got.
This is true. It's a nice
The whole
redemption
thing where
story.
he got face tattoos, so he had to make it as a rapper. I thought that shit was hilarious.
Yeah, it seems like you make it as a rapper and then you get the face tattoos, but that's just my opinion. Just my opinion.
And just one way to go about it. But anyway, let's continue on to the month of February. January was solid, you know.
Oh well, actually, there's a couple of there's one more that I wanted to.
Oh, you got some more January? I didn't find anything. I didn't find shit that I listened to.
CJ Fly dropped an album. I did. I hadn't listened to it. I listened to a couple songs yesterday, and it was pretty good. CJ Fly and Joey Badass, I think, would make a killer, and they've been on collab albums together before, but just them
Yeah,
two.
is CJ Fly loosely connected to the Beast Coast thing? Is he around?
He's in Pro Era, which is Joey Badass's group, which is part of Beast Coast. Or a lot of the people in Pro Era show up on Beast Coast projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was good. Lil Durk's The Voice came out in January, which was honestly a pretty solid album. That was one of the few, I think that was the only one that I'd listened to from January, before, or heard anything of before, I made this list. So the Lil Durk album was actually pretty solid. And then there is, Griselda Films. And this kind of fits in the music and movie category. Did you know that Griselda has a film branch?
But I'm become familiar.
And they made a movie in January called Conflicted, and dropped an album alongside it. And so I listened to a couple songs off the album, and it's solid. It's very solid. It's exactly what you want out of a movie companion album. And then I watched the trailer for the movie, and they got a little ways to go, I think, on the screenwriting and directing, filmmaking front. It seems like a YouTube movie in a lot of ways. You know what I'm talking about, right? Like just the horribly acted YouTube movies.
Man. Is it like starring them? Like is Griselda,
yeah. Benny the Butcher is in it. He was the only one I saw in the actual trailer, but I'm sure other Griselda members will show up.
Well, they're big on like The Sopranos, so exactly. I have no doubt that they were like, we ought to try that.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. They're like, you know what? We need to expand our businesses,
Dude, they're fantastic, and they pop up periodically throughout the year of different members of Griselda, West Side Gun, Benny the Butcher, right. Conway the Machine. They all have their individual releases that are just like, God damn.
Yeah, they do, and then they come together, and like it's just like they are the most premier rap group right now. Like they have, in my opinion, they have surpassed the Migos. They may not have. I mean, and I think in a lot of ways, to a lot of people, the Migos have kind of fallen off. That may just be my opinion, but
it is also mine.
I think Griselda is just a more compelling 3-man group.
For sure.
And then the last one from January, which I haven't listened to, but I listened to in its entirety, but it's an EP actually from. Have you heard? You probably haven't heard of this person, the God Fahim.
I actually have.
Okay, good. He dropped a bunch of different EPs, but particularly, I wanted to point out the one that he dropped in January called "The Wolf on Wall Street." Pretty fucking fire. Pretty. Okay. As soon as you look at the cover, you're gonna be like the album cover. You're gonna be like, I think I know where this is going, and then you're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna be like, this went exactly where I wanted it to.
That's fantastic. All right, I'll definitely give it a listen then. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that ultimately what we're seeing in music is we're kind of getting out of the phase where we recognize everyone who releases things, because there's a lot of names that I was finding in 2021 releases that I knew of, but only vaguely. Like people who
to seek out.
Right. Like I'm not it's going to be hard. It's getting hard to really develop new, like to become a fan of a new artist.
I found that like fandom as a whole for individuals as I get older, it's hard for me to like be like, yes, I'm a fan of that person, just because like it just feels weird to me. The entire idea of fandom is strange, Right. I think it makes sense for like general, like you're a hip hop fan. You are a Marvel fan, you are a Star Wars fan. You are like these big things where a lot of people fit into the category. That makes sense to me.
Right.
But yeah, as I get older, it just gets harder and harder to be like glom on to someone. Like, cause I think back to when I was 16 and I fucking loved Chance the Rapper. That will not happen again. Like for any other artist in any other moment, I don't think for the like.
Yeah.
And if it does, I'm open to it. But like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I don't really feel that way towards. I mean, except the people who I was really listening to in high school. Like, they'll always hold that special part.
And that is how it is for everybody ever. Like, I saw a tweet from Dragonfly Jones just a couple weeks ago who was like, you're not going to get somebody like these arguments between dudes who were 15 in 1994 who think Jay is the GOAT are not going to convince that the people who were 15 in 2004 that Lil Wayne is the GOAT are not going to convince that 2014 people who were 15 then that Drake is not the GOAT. Like, it's like these are who you think are the GOATs because that's what you're most nostalgic for. And nostalgia always wins out in music conversations. It just always does.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a fact. But yeah, that was pretty much January for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. All right, so let's go on to February. And February for me was a big one for movies. I had
Hmm.
three that I watched in February. Tom and Jerry.
Oh, you watched that?
Fuck yeah, I did, baby. I loved Tom and Jerry when I was little. So like the movie dropped, and I was like, I'm fucking in. Watched it. It's cute. It's fun. It's entertaining enough. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, you like Tom and Jerry, you like the fucking movie. That's how it goes there.
Okay. I
Um,
loved Tom and Jerry when I was a kid. So.
I was concerned about like the animation, like because it's live action world. Tom and Jerry animated, like the only animated parts of it.
Uh-huh.
And they pull it off in a way that's like believable and like looks good. So I'm like,
Right.
all right, yeah, I'm here for that.
Okay.
Another movie that came out that I really, really enjoyed, one of my favorites of the year, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, that one was phenomenal.
That was fantastic. It was actually the first movie in this year that I went and saw in theaters.
Really?
Yes. I was like, Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield about the Black Panther Party, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I have to go catch this, because it was one that I think if I had just played it at home on HBO Max, I don't think I would have gotten like the full effect it was supposed to have. Little distractions, looking at my phone, shit like that. But go and be
Mm-hmm.
able to sit down and watch this in a movie theater, it was fucking fantastic. It was very beautifully shot. The story was fantastic. It was obviously devastating, if you are at all familiar
Mm-hmm.
with that story. That's just a real sad one, man. But it was a
Yeah.
fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was a
The
fantastic
story of Fred
movie.
Hampton is just devastating.
Yeah, no, that was we were actually around that time we had a debate tournament, and um something that stuck with me was this coach that we had hired um was telling us about how to run this argument, and he was like, you know what, that new movie that Huey Newton is really interesting because it displays in a very genuine way the way that um, governments are okay killing or disposing of um, sort of young revolutionary voices. Like the black child to them is to the government is the most threatening thing because they are the most free thinking uh, people, and so they make it a point to single them out. And yeah, it's just I think it was a really important movie, and you know with that sort of movie you don't want it to fall short at all, and it didn't, because if it fell
I
short,
agree.
it would have been really bad.
There was some stuff around the release of it that was like kind of conflicting, because I remember there was something that was like the Fred Hampton house was
Hmm.
about to be like had a GoFundMe that was struggling to reach like a certain tens of thousands of dollars
Hmm.
for the government not to repossess the Fred Hampton house.
Yeah.
And the Judas and the Black Messiah movie cost $110 million to make. So it's just
Yeah.
like, it's interesting, the way that even in a movie that needed to be made like this and is a beautiful story and something that people should know about,
Hmm.
uh, even then it kind of shows where our priorities are at,
Right. Right.
and it's interesting. Um,
Um. Briefly on other January releases, though, there was so I didn't actually know about this before, but there's the Zendaya put out a film in January on Netflix called Malcolm and Marie.
I have that in my February. I didn't realize that was January.
Oh, okay. It was at the end of January from what I see, but from
Oh,
where I saw.
interesting. I thought it was the first week of February. That's interesting. Okay, it probably
Okay.
was the last week
Yeah.
of January, though.
Uh,
Uh,
have you seen that one?
yes, it was actually the next one on my list after
Okay.
Judas and the Black Messiah. Did you ever watch it?
I didn't. No.
You don't have to.
Cool. Is it
Uh,
not? Is it not
I
super
mean,
great?
it's good. Like it's an impressive acting performance, and it's really beautifully made and stuff. And like if you're coming here for a one-time viewing, you will not want to rewatch this.
Yeah.
Because the entire thing takes place in one room, and the entire thing
One of
is
those.
Malcolm and Marie arguing. It's the entire movie.
That's yeah. And so
and it's really cool, and it's a really great idea and really experimental, and it is very visually stimulating, also in black and white.
Yeah.
And John David Washington and Zendaya do fucking fantastic in it. But it's just kind of boring, you know?
Okay. Yeah. That actually reminds me of and this came out last year, but One Night in Miami. Did you ever watch that?
I never did.
Really interesting movie. That one is definitely it does the same. I forget the word for it, but there's a word for like that sort of movie that takes place in one room, one setting, pretty much.
Does that have Leslie Odom Jr. and
Yeah.
the guy who plays Chrissy Moltisanti in it?
Yeah.
Michael Imperioli?
Yeah, I think so. But basically, it talks about like this night in Miami after Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship, and this is all based on real events, where Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Muhammad Ali, and who's the dude that sings? He sings that song, Sam, the really sad. You know the song I'm talking like the. Sam Cooke, and it's the four of them. Apparently, they were friends, which is fucking insane. I didn't know that, and they just like
that's quite the powerful friend group right there.
Yes, and they were just having these really serious, like not serious. They were serious, but they were friends having these conversations about what everyone else wondered about them, like sort of how does Martin Luther King be friends with Malcolm X, and how does Muhammad Ali sort of seemingly choose Malcolm X's side when he converts to the Nation of Islam, and still maintain his friendship with Dr. Martin Luther King. And on the other hand, Sam Cooke was portrayed as kind of being like, I don't know what the fuck y'all are talking about. I'm trying to make this money though. They've been telling me my whole life I can't make money, and I can make money, and that's like his whole goal. And it's like they give four different but understandable perspectives on why they did the things they did.
Interesting. I'm definitely gonna have to watch that now. I had no idea that's what that movie was about. I'd only ever heard of its name, and now that's like a must watch as soon as possible.
It's really good. It didn't get talked about all that much, I feel like, when it came out.
No, yeah, I'll definitely have to give that a viewing. And
but yeah, the last January one I had was Nomadland. Have you heard about that movie at least?
yes.
Okay.
But I did not realize that was a 2021 movie. I thought that was a 2020 movie.
Yeah, it says January at least.
What the fuck? Where was I getting my information? Now I need to watch Nomadland bad. I did actually run into Nomadland on the list I was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But I remembered it as a 2020 movie, and it was like at festivals and shit.
Yeah, it was
premiered in 2021. Yeah, that's right.
That's true. Yeah, okay. I watched it on a plane actually. It's one of Southwest's free movies, and I was like, "Oh shit, it's a really good movie. Let me watch it." And phenomenal. Like,
won Best Picture at the Oscars.
Huh? Oh,
it won Best Picture at the Oscars.
Yeah, no, phenomenal. Like it's really eerie, really quiet, really solemn. But it's just real. Like it's just a real depiction of what life is like for a lot of people now, and increasingly being like, because of this sort of nomadic effect that corporate jobs have influenced people to like follow. Like the main character works seasonally at Amazon and lives in her van. And she likes that because she's able to go anywhere she wants to, whenever she wants to. But she's like poor, she's like not. And all the other nomads are fairly poor too, but they all look out for each other all across the country. And it's a really interesting movie.
I've only heard good things about it. And Chloe Zhao being the director is something that entices me greatly. She also won Best Director at the Oscars. for Nomadland, and it's definitely one that I've wanted to make my way around to. But I have a real tough time going into a movie that I know for sure is going to get me down a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
And like obviously there are movies that sneak through, and I'm just like fuck it. But that one hasn't been one that I've gotten around to yet.
I'm increasingly getting like that. I messed around and showed Claire this movie on Amazon called Life Itself. I think I've told you about this movie. You haven't seen it, have you?
No, but the one with Oscar Isaac and
it
was it better the second time around?
No. It was even more clearly emotionally manipulative the second time around. I was like, at first, I just thought it was like a bad movie, giggle, laugh, haha. This is like awful. They expect you like this is just a terribly written story. And then I showed it to Claire, and she's like breaking down, crying, and I'm like, what did I did?
Life Itself strikes me as like the This Is Us of movies.
Yeah. It's just relentless. Like, it's relentless, and it resolves the story in such a roundabout way where it makes it feel like most of the jaw-dropping stuff that happens in that movie was just for shock value. That's all it makes it feel like, because the ending is so mundane, and I'm like, there's so many better ways to get to this point than fucking having a pregnant woman get run over by the bus, and then changing the narrative to focus on three different people in the story, and the last one is the story of the little kid who fucking distracted the bus driver so that the lady would get killed. It's just fucked up. It's fucked up.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm never gonna watch that.
Yeah, don't. Please don't.
That is
Please
fucking
don't.
hilarious.
Yeah, but I think that was all I had for January.
All I had in the February and I guess /January category with Malcolm and Marie was Tom and Jerry, Judas and the Black Messiah, and Malcolm and Marie.
Yeah.
For movies. Did you have any more in February?
So February, Minari came out, which I almost saw. We actually chose to see. Minari is like a story about a Korean American family
In Arkansas.
in Arkansas, and it was between that and all the little things, and we chose the little things for obvious reasons, like
Rami Malek,
Rami Malek, Jared Leto, like what? Come on! And I really wish we went and saw Minari. I haven't seen it yet, still, but I know that was a really good movie to come out that month.
Also nominated for Best Picture, if I remember correctly.
Was it? Okay.
Minari.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's another one that I also really want to watch. And there's always this thing with the Oscar Best Picture nominees where it's like, I obviously want to watch it eventually, but they are so often just hard to get through because they're usually so emotional. They make me so they either make me so sad or or they're really long, or the story might be good and it might be really well acted, really well shot, but sometimes it can just be boring. And and I just got to be in the right mood for one that I know I'm going to be like critically viewing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. I haven't seen this one yet, but the United States versus Billie Holiday. Did you ever?
Was that a movie?
I believe so. With Andra Day.
Yeah, it was on Hulu, right?
And this is how I found out about Andra Day, and her music is phenomenal, like absolutely insane. Like,
well, if she's playing Billie Holiday,
yeah, like her voice is just ridiculous. But I haven't watched that movie yet. I heard good things about it.
I was for some reason I was under the impression that was like a limited series of some sort.
No, I think I'm pretty sure it's a movie.
No, yeah, all right. I'll have to. Then that makes me want to watch it more. I thought it was more like 5 hours instead of 2.
Yeah.
So that makes it a little bit more enticing to me.
And it looks like Billie Eilish's thing came out in February. Obviously, didn't watch that. I don't really get the whole concert movie thing. Like,
I don't either. It's never been my thing. Like I remember several over the years. Like I actually think that
the Justin Bieber ones were huge.
I actually went and saw the Justin Bieber one in theaters with my girlfriend at the time when we were like 13 or 14. And I that's the only one I've ever went and like watched in a theater. But now that I'm dating Emily, who's a really big Taylor Swift fan and is a really big fan of pop music, and I did actually get to watch the Billie Eilish one.
Did you? All right. So what'd you think about?
I thought what I usually think after pretty much any documentary.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting.
Really?
If I get sucked into a documentary, like you put on any documentary and I end up sitting there for 10 minutes, I'm probably going to watch the whole fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I end up getting fascinated. I will not go out of my way typically to choose a documentary. It doesn't happen often. But like say my father watches lots of documentaries in the living room. If I stand up there for a couple minutes, I know I'm in for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And Billie Eilish's whole thing was actually really, really cool. And I've never been a big fan of concert movies either. I remember like the Jonas Brothers have had one. Taylor Swift has had a few.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a few others that I'm just forgetting, but yeah, it was entertaining enough. I wouldn't like recommend it unless you're a Billie Eilish fan, you know, like. But it's interesting, and people being that young and that famous is hard as fuck. So like seeing her deal with it is really what's interesting about the whole documentary, you know. But yeah.
And for music in February, I mean, I didn't. Those not much really. Pooh Shiesty season came out, which I did listen to that whole project when I was driving in North Carolina last summer, and it's I don't know, the project as a whole wasn't that great. It has a couple standouts for sure. And then Bryson Tiller's Anniversary came out in February, which I did not listen to more than a song or so off of there, but
neither did I.
I don't remember it getting. I don't think it got too much. People really expected a lot out of it, and I don't think it delivered on that because Bryson Tiller was such a moment back in maybe 2014, 2015.
I think it was 2015, 16, somewhere in there. Yeah, like I think he might have been a part of the whole like 2016's music was the greatest of all time. Like I think that might have been when Trap Soul came out, but
Trap Soul was fire. Trap Soul helped define that whole new genre of music, which is crazy how artists can do that. Artists can like who's another? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Trap Soul really changed the expectation of R&B, and it kind of helped develop this new genre, I guess, that people are calling like neo soul, which I enjoy a lot, like a lot. But it still has the same issues as every other genre, which is the music can get to sound a little samey. Like after a while of hearing
Bryson Tiller, everything Bryson Tiller makes now sounds the same to me. And it's happened with a few other artists that I really didn't want it to happen to in that genre. I think less so than Bryson Tiller for me, but to a degree, it's started to happen. Brent Faiyaz.
Yeah, definitely Brent Faiyaz. I listen to his old stuff a ton, but yeah, it's just all right.
Yeah. But some other things that came out in February: Collection Agency by Currency.
Ooh, yeah.
That was a good one. I always fuck with Currency. We've talked about Currency multiple times. When Currency does his thing, he does his thing. That's pretty much that.
Yeah. He doesn't, he's not, I really respect Currency because he doesn't take himself to be to need to break records with every release. You know, he'll drop 5, 6, maybe 7 projects in a year, and they may not be huge. They may not be getting radio plays, but he's still got his core fan base, and his core fans will listen.
Absolutely. And then another one, I'm assuming this came in conjunction with his Super Bowl performance, The Highlights by The Weeknd, which was basically just the greatest hits album.
I didn't actually know that came out. Why does he have a greatest hits album already?
Bro, it's because he can. Like, it's crazy. This thing is like 30 songs long, and every single one of them is fucking fantastic because, it's all of his best songs. He's already got a catalog that's like, I can do a greatest hits.
He's got arguably the best mixtape run I've ever seen. Like, the quality of music he was making during his mixtape days, arguably just as good, if not better, than his album music. Precisely his more recent albums, which were fine. With the I never came around on Starboy, but I do like certain songs on there. But yeah,
I actually did. That was one that I actually I wasn't a fan at the time in what was that, also 15, 16, I think?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being just kind of like, I mean, okay. Like, I really loved R&B The Weeknd, and he went really, really poppy The Weeknd with it. And to an extent, like, now I can appreciate a lot more of those songs, and the kind of vibe it's putting off. I have to, like, be in a kind of specific mood to put on Starboy by The Weeknd. It's not one that's getting a lot of casual plays for me, but like, if I'm ever like, you know what, I think it's one that I don't see enough love for.
Right.
I think it's solid.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
I just remember Sidewalks featuring Kendrick Lamar. That shit's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, no, that's
say. I come for murder, one broad day like melee.
That song is wild.
Kendrick just makes everything better, though.
Kendrick does.
But you got anything else in February?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Oh, another TV show that premiered in February. Another comic book show, Superman and Lois. Solid. Recommend watching. Want more thoughts? Go over to the 2021 Comic Book Movies and Shows podcast. On to March. Biggest one so far for movies for me. I have
March was huge.
I have 5 watched movies in March, with Godzilla vs. Kong, Cherry, starring Tom Holland, Chaos Walking, starring Tom Holland again, but with Daisy Ridley, Raya and the Last Dragon, the second movie this year that I saw in theaters, and Moxie on Netflix, produced by Amy Poehler. Yeah, it was this one is, I fondly remember this month. These are all movies I really, really enjoyed on some level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There were a lot of I think that probably part of the whole movie industry deals with putting out movies at certain parts of the year. Like, people are more willing to go outside and go do things March of 2021, as opposed to any earlier of that, for a host of reasons. But did you mention you mentioned Zack Snyder, right?
Oh, I did not.
Zack Snyder's Justice League also came out in March.
That's a good fucking month.
Along with, I haven't seen this one, but Nobody came out, the movie with
with Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah,
Saul Goodman.
Yeah, that one seemed like a pretty good one. And then the other one that, and it doesn't have great reviews, but I thought it was interesting just because it was a sort of interesting concept, which is a Asian American basketball player. It's called Boogie. I think it's a Netflix film. Have you seen it?
I actually think I remember that being out in theaters for a second.
It was in theaters.
If I remember correctly, okay. I might be remembering that wrong, but I feel like it was.
Yeah, I just remember it because Pop Smoke was in it, which was just kind of funny. And it's like a story based around an Asian American basketball player. Like, that's not a thing that people really think about, because it's like, oh, we got Yao Ming, but like, how many really good Asian basketball players can you think of? Not many. And basketball's huge in China and Japan. From
Mm-hmm.
what I hear, that's why they do those games over there sometimes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a lot of people who
That's why a lot of NBA players completely avoid any conversation about anything involving China.
They make a lot of money from China.
Yeah, if anyone says anything negative about China, it is they are immediately required to recant it. And
that really confused me. Didn't something happen with? Didn't LeBron allude to something? And do you remember what happened there?
he was one that never said anything wrong. He's one that gets kind of shit on for never even coming close to saying anything, for completely bowing to the political situations.
See, but he's not a politician.
Right.
He's a basketball player.
An NBA basketball player.
What is the expectation of him to do that?
I don't know. I think there's a whole conversation that could go into that, and there's actually a movie that we'll get to with the December later on that kind of messes with that idea, how you use your voice once you gain a platform and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, Boogie, I remember hearing about it, but I never actually caught it. Yeah, I saw Raya and the Last Dragon in theaters. That's a great Disney animated one. Awkwafina voices the dragon, and the chick who plays Rose Tico, Kelly Marie Tran, from Star Wars sequel trilogy, plays Raya, and they do a really good job. It's a fun movie. It's really pretty, entertaining to look at. Cherry was absolutely devastating.
Cherry?
Tom Holland. Yeah, Tom Holland. It's an Apple TV Plus original.
Okay.
Tom Holland is fucking fantastic in it. He's a struggling young dude who enlists in the army because he can't afford to do anything else. And it's kind of just a commentary on how shitty life can be if you're in that situation.
Right.
And it shows him after the war going through PTSD stuff and addiction, and it's just it's really, really, really good. I thought it catches a lot of shit I've seen online. It's directed by the Russo brothers.
They did Avengers.
The Avengers. Yeah.
Did they just do Endgame?
They did Infinity War and Endgame, I'm pretty sure. Because I think Joss Whedon did the others. If I remember correctly. Fuck Joss Whedon. But yeah, I thought it was a really good movie, and Tom Holland's a great leading man. He had a really good year as he continued it with Chaos Walking. That movie is a little less good, but it's entertaining enough, you know?
Yeah.
It's a world where there's like this thing around the people where you can hear their thoughts. Nobody's thoughts are silent. You have to like really control it. You have to learn to really, really control it so that you're not letting your free thoughts just flow all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a society of only men. There are no women until Daisy Ridley happens upon their planet. And it's an interesting one. The way it unfolds is kind of weird, and it's a weird movie, but it's entertaining all in all. And again, Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley are fantastic actor and actresses. So I recommend it.
Okay.
But yeah.
The SpongeBob movie also came out, and
that's right. Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves was in there, so was Awkwafina.
Legendary. Man, they had a good year.
They did.
And then Godzilla vs. Kong was a visual spectacle. That shit was just fun, you know? Like, I'll take all the movies I can get of big monsters fighting. I'm not here for a story, you know? Like, people were like, that movie's not good. I don't care. That shit was fun.
That shit was fun. That's all you got to do. That's all you have to do.
That's that.
Yeah, but I think that was Do you have any more movies?
No, I think that's it. The last one I had was Moxie. It was a Netflix original. It was that's a cute one about a young girl who's kind of coming into her own as a feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Actively learning the more the movie goes on about, and it's very like, if you are a 30-something white liberal, you're gonna fucking love this movie. This might be your favorite movie of all time. It's like, it's entertaining and it's cute, and the political messaging couldn't be more fucking clear.
Yeah.
But it's a solid one, you know, and I think a lot of men could benefit from watching it, you know.
Yeah, I'll have to try that. I'm kind of looking for new stuff to watch while I'm out here because I decided to fly this time, so I'm without a car, which means most of the day I'm just kind of chilling, not doing shit.
I'm also at the moment without a car, so
living that life.
Yeah, it's a rough one, but yeah, that's it for movies for me.
Yeah, so on the music front, I had a couple too. So you got Denzel Curry and Kenny Beats dropped Unlocked 1.5.
I have that.
Threw a bunch of fantastic features on that project. Reworked the songs a little bit.
Shmino.
God, anything with Shmino.
I love Shmino.
Shmino is, oh God, he's so good. Drake, Scary Hours 2 came out, which I don't think I ever listened to. Surprising.
I remember I gave it a listen the night it dropped, but I think it's another 2-song package.
Yeah,
so
that's what it was. Yeah.
I listened to the 2 songs, and I never listened to them again.
Yeah. So The Alchemist dropped an album with a artist who I think is really up and coming, Armand Hanner, called Harem. The Alchemist obviously has done a bunch of projects this year, but I think
he had a fucking year. Like, if we're gonna like official first 2021 award, if there's a producer of the year, it's The Alchemist.
It's The Alchemist. And what's crazy is it feels like he's kind of he was a legend way before this, but I feel like in the past couple of years he's really been putting in some work.
There's some sort of like renaissance of The Alchemist these last couple of years, because like there's articles from like 2000 where he's featured alongside like Jay Dilla and these massive producers from the late 90s and early 2000s, Hit Boy and shit. Like, it's like, God damn.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then Benny the Butcher, The Plugs I Met too. Fantastic album. Really, really enjoyed it. I pretty much enjoy anything Benny the Butcher puts out. Like, he's
Griselda, pretty much anything Griselda members do, I'm gonna like.
Yeah. I mean, I think Benny the Butcher has kind of taken the spot for my favorite. It was West Side Gun for at the beginning. Like, I learned about Griselda through West Side Gun, but when I started listening to Benny the Butcher, I was like, yeah, this is
easy. You know, like, and in fact, West Side Gun is now my least favorite member of Griselda.
Yes, me too. I feel like Benny the Butcher is like, he reminds me of Rick Ross, and I say that with the utmost respect for Rick Ross, because I was listening to an episode of The Breakfast Club, and Charlemagne was talking about how he was like, we need to talk about how Rick Ross is one of, if not the most consistent hip hop artist of the past 10 years. Like, he's not really missed ever, and I would agree. Like, everything Rick Ross puts out, pretty much, it does what it needs to do. Like,
there are a few artists who have carved out that lane, you know, on the commercial level that he has. Like, he puts out hits. Like, Rick Ross is a big artist. A lot of people know Rick Ross, and he just does it, you know. Like, I like, and there are a few dudes who like actually come right along with Rick Ross. Wale, another guy for me who is like, fits that lane, that just consistent. Wale he's not quite as commercially big as Rick Ross, I would say, but he's done his thing, and he's had a few hits.
Yeah,
and
he's definitely done his thing. And then we also had Code of the Friend, Static Selective, To Kill a Sunrise.
And I think there was an episode at the end of March in which we discussed To Kill a Sunrise, The Plugs I Met To, and Chemtrails Over the Country Club by Lana Del Rey, all in one little one.
We did. I did not look at lists of other genres. I just realized that I only looked at hip hop music for the year.
I was just looking through a big list of like every release of the year, and I was like, if I listened to it, I took it down.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I did for every category. Was just like scroll until I found ones I watched or listened to. But yeah, those are all the ones I had. Unlocked 1.5, Scary Hours 2, To Kill a Sunrise, Chemtrails Over the Country Club, and The Plugs I Met To.
Yeah. So March, pretty good month.
It was a really good month. And then on the TV front, another superhero show, Invincible, that I started. Amazon Prime, fantastic. Again, 2021 comic book movies and stuff over there. On to April. And this one this is a pretty solid month. I'm going to start with the movies section. It was a fun one for movies for me. I have 3 here. I got The Mitchells versus the Machines, Netflix animated movie that I cannot recommend enough. It's one of my favorite animated movies ever. Mortal Kombat.
Oh, did you watch the Mortal Kombat movie?
I did.
How was it?
It was solid. I think it caught a lot of shit, and it does help that I played the Mortal Kombat games, but I don't know Mortal Kombat lore.
Right.
I don't have any stake in these characters. I don't really know anything besides some abilities of some characters. You know what I'm saying? So coming into it and just being ready for some cool fight sequences with characters with dope powers, like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
It's a fun action movie. And I thought it was mad entertaining. And that's all I was really looking for out of it. I wasn't expecting a movie that was going to put me on my fucking ass in terms of storytelling.
Yeah.
I was just ready for some action. And, that was kind of the case with that. And Thunder Force, Netflix original with Octavia Spencer and Melissa McCartney. They play superheroes, and it's funny as fuck. Like it's super funny, super entertaining. It's stupid. It's mad stupid. Some of the dumbest shit I've ever watched, but it is hilarious, and for that reason, I love it.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't actually watch anything from April, which that's kind of surprising.
I have a. Oh wow, that was. I don't know if I came through really squeaky there. But yeah, I have a month like that later on. In the TV category, I have my first show that I watched this year that was not comic book movie or show related. It's an original show. Nothing, no comic book characters involved.
Okay.
It was HBO Max's Made for Love. Starring Kristen Milioti. And this is one that I strongly recommend. Like, if I had to pick one that's like not a comic book movie or show that I watched over the course of the year, and you'll see that I have a few as we continue this. This was my favorite, far and away. It's about a woman who has been married to a tech billionaire who has locked her in their bubble. And their bubble is just basically his entire estate where he's staying. They have everything they'd ever need here. They never have to leave. He's in some sort of arrested development, just kind of like he's super fucked up. He's a billionaire who's twisted and completely disconnected from reality.
Yeah.
And he develops this chip where you put it in to couples' brains and two become one. You can always hear you always know what each other are thinking, and you no privacy, nothing. You full trust all the time. That
sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yes, and so the show it's really funny, it's really dramatic, really emotionally resonant, incredibly well acted, and it keeps you on the edge of your fucking seat. You were like, what the fuck is about to happen?
Yeah.
And I really, really love it. And Kristen Milioti, I have a soft spot for her because, you know, she's the mother of How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
And I'll always love her for that.
Uh-huh.
Tracy deserved better. But yeah, Made for Love. That was a fucking fantastic show from April of 2021.
Okay. Yeah, that's it seems like what's interesting to notice too is how these releases are becoming, and honestly why so many of them fly under the radar like they do. It's because movie releases do not hinge on theatrical releases anymore. Like, and that's such an odd thing. Like, I think it's better. It'll be easier to get movies made because of that. But at the same time, they like if you make more movies, then less people are gonna watch all of the movies. You know, like.
And that's kind of like, that's the danger on the whole of the streaming age. You know, like there's a list of pros and cons, you know, like as there is with anything else. You know, I was thinking the other day about, like, on the TV show front, the freedom that the streaming platform gives you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to have a structure.
Mm-hmm.
There doesn't, like, you want an episode to be 35 minutes one week and an hour and 5 minutes the next? Fine.
Yeah.
It's streaming. It doesn't matter. There's not a TV slot you have to hold. Like,
Yeah.
it's the creatives just have a lot more freedom to do whatever the fuck they want and that's specifically on the TV side, you know. And I think movies, you see that too. And I think streaming services, especially like Netflix, care a lot less about what the brand is saying, whereas like Warner Brothers and Disney and stuff, like there's certain stuff they won't allow to get made that
Right.
Netflix probably would, you know, just because Netflix will make everything.
Mm-hmm. They will make just about
everything. They'll make everything. Like, they put out so much fucking stuff, and obviously their method where it's like one of these is bound to hit. There's something to it. Obviously, it's worked with several things: Stranger Things, Squid Games, like Bird Box, random Tiger King shit, random shit just hits on Netflix.
Yeah,
and
it does.
Because there's so much shit that just one thing is bound to blow up.
Mm-hmm.
And while I do kind of wish, you know, like it would be more like, what if we focused on making the best possible products instead of putting out such a massive quantity that one of these things is bound to give us a return on our investment.
Right. Yeah.
It's just interesting.
Yeah, no, it I think it's just sort of, I don't know, it's these corporate entities are taking over.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
So is that April?
I got some music in April.
Okay. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about music.
La Machina by Conway the Machine.
Yep.
That was a big one for me. I liked that one a lot.
I haven't
staying with you. Oh, I listened to like pretty much everything Conway the Machine and Benny the Butcher this year.
Okay.
Like if they put out anything, I definitely was on that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Staying with the, you know, Kristen Milioti, How I Met Your Mother, love. One More Than I'll Let You Go by Josh Radnor, the man who plays Ted Mosby. He's you know, he sings a couple times in the series, and you see he's got a little bit of a voice on him. You're like, oh, okay, and he makes some fun, folksy kind of music that I can get behind every now and then.
Yeah.
So I like the dude, so I gave him a spin there. A Gangsta's Pain by Moneybagg Yo, who has just steadily risen as like one of the most solid artists in the game.
Yeah.
Frankly, just kind of like, again, in that Rick Ross vein where it's like consistent. He's going to do his fucking thing. Just
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and then Shelly, formerly known as Dram, by Shelly, formerly known as Dram.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Dram changed their name?
Yeah. To Shelly. Shelley. FKA Dram. And the album he put out was fucking fantastic.
Really?
Like, I loved that album. Definitely my favorite album from this month, and might be, as far as we've gone in the year, the first 4 months here. Might be my favorite album of the first 4 months.
Oh.
It was just really, really fucking good.
I didn't wait. So, I wonder why Dram changed their name.
He kind of addresses it on the album.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of a rebirthing sort of thing. Like it seems he's found a pretty spiritual path that he's kind of on, and he's like, I needed to rebrand. I needed to hit the reset sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We also in April we had This Thing of Ours by The Alchemist.
Uh-huh.
La Cosa Nostra. This Thing of Ours. The Alchemist fucking does his fucking thing on the production. Lots of killer features.
Yeah.
It's fucking great. And then Khaled by DJ Khaled.
Khaled, yep.
This somehow that man fails every time.
Every single. Did you see? I wanted to text you about this, but I didn't know if this was like, I don't know. Did you see this man? What he did to his teeth?
Mm-mm.
DJ Khaled, like, I don't know if this is the real read, but I couldn't find a lot online about it because I did Google it because I was that interested. His teeth are smaller now. They appear more straight. Like it seems like fake teeth. And apparently what he did was he shaved his teeth down. So that they're all even. So it looks like he's wearing like a really good set of dentures. But the only explanation I could find online was that he did this so that he could eat lobster better or something. I don't know. But if you look up DJ Khaled, he's in a commercial that I keep seeing on just like on TV and he's like, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just an odd thing to do, I think, to shave your teeth down.
Well, I think you'll find that with a lot of these super rich motherfuckers, they do some strange shit.
Yeah.
Because they have the money to do some strange shit.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, I think that's a thing that some people choose to do. You know, shave their teeth down for the appearance of straighter teeth.
Yeah.
But goddamn, I could never do that.
Yeah. I urge you to pay attention next time you see DJ Khaled, and because it just, I guess he looks better, but he looks fake. Like he looks manufactured. Like
he looks like the Santa Claus 2 version of the Santa Claus, where they like put him in the plastic machine and like he became a giant walking toy.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. And you already mentioned the Brockhampton project, right?
I did not. Shit, was that April?
I think so. Roadrunner, New Light, New Machine.
That shit was gas.
Did you? I remember listening to it, but I just never revisited it, and I can't remember a single song off of it, which is kind of the problem I was starting to have with Brockhampton. Well, it's honestly the problem I've always had with Brockhampton. Even when you go back to the Saturation series, when I first got into them, it was so hard for me to tell people what songs I liked because not that they all sounded the same though, because they didn't. They all sound very, very different. But it was hard.
They're one of those examples where it's like you should listen to the whole album.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like if I go revisit Brockhampton, I'm probably not just picking out a song.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm picking out one of their albums and I'm gonna listen to it from front to back.
Yeah.
And just because that was what they were good at, was curating an album and putting the right songs in the right place and making it flow really well together. Yeah. And I had the same problem. You know, there weren't a lot of specific songs that I would have pointed to and said like, this is one of my favorite Brockhampton songs. Mm-hmm. Like I'd probably say it for a lot of them because I associate it with the whole album instead. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I think Iridescent still stands at the top for me for Brockhampton.
Me too.
And it could just be having the concert experience to accompany that.
it helps. It absolutely helps. Because I mean, shit, I don't know if this is a good example, but like Flower Boy by Tyler, the Creator, probably still stands as my favorite Tyler album.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought it was Igor for a while, but I just don't listen to Igor as much as I
I will
thought
say,
I
I
would.
think Igor is probably a better album,
And that's, yeah, uh-huh.
but I don't think I like it as much.
And
You
then,
know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
what was the name of his most recent one?
Call me when you get lost. Call me if you get
Call Me
lost.
If You Get Lost. Yeah, that was a phenomenal album too. I just don't revisit it, for some
Yeah.
reason.
Well, and see, there's also this thing that I'm falling into with music quite a bit, where, and I think this is just a product that of getting older that kind of everyone does. Like, there are a lot of people, like, I used to be very like, what's coming out this Friday?
Yeah,
I'm gonna listen to it,
yeah,
you know? But most people, when they listen to music, it's like they'll listen to some big things, and unless they happen upon new shit, they don't listen to new shit.
right.
And I've fallen deeper and deeper into that. Like, I'm very late to releases
Hmm.
most of the time, unless they're like the massive ones like Donda and Certified Lover Boy and
Yeah.
shit like that. Like, I was ready for Call Me If You Get Lost because I love
Oh
Tyler, the
yeah, I was
Creator,
so
and
ready
stuff.
for that one.
Um, but yeah, it's just like, and then I don't know if it was just the music this year, if it's a reflection of that. I don't revisit a lot of the stuff that people consider the best albums of the year.
Hmm.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, no, I agree. Probably the only new artist that I listened to, one of the few new artists I listened to this year actually did come out with his album in April, and that was Big Scar. Big Scar, Big Grim Reaper. It's, pretty solid. Pretty solid. Um it's like very much, like I'm trying to think of an artist to relate to. Almost like Pooh Shiesty in some ways. Um but just like that hard hitting trap that like it's solid. It's a solid project.
All right, all right. Does that conclude April for us?
I believe so. I mean there was Slime Language 2, which I didn't actually listen to. Um
I did,
you did?
but I forgot it came out. So there you go.
There you go. It's apparently it debuted at number one, so people were looking forward to it.
I mean, there's always people looking forward to a Young Thug release. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Corday dropped his EP just until Snoop Dogg, and Currency both dropped projects, as did Talib Kweli. Um, Lil Yachty dropped a project.
Man.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
All right, all right.
And what was it? Have you told me about Moray? Is that someone that you've told me about?
It might be. I like Murray.
Yeah, I think Moray came out with something too.
Yeah. But with that, on to May. And I only saw one movie, but there's a couple movies from May that were pretty big deals. I only saw A Quiet Place Part 2, which I really enjoyed, and we had a whole episode where we talked about it. So
Hmm.
I won't elaborate on it too much. But it was a solid film. It was the only horror movie that I saw in theaters this year.
Hmm.
And this would mark my third trip to the movie theater on the year after Judas and the Black Messiah and Raya and the Last Dragon. Went for A Quiet Place Part 2 in May.
Okay.
A couple of the bigger releases, Army of the Dead on Netflix, directed by Zack Snyder. That was
Hmm.
a huge movie that I never got around to. The zombie genre is just not one that I'm huge on.
Hmm.
There's been a few that I've really enjoyed, Train to Busan and World War Z and shit like that. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
But I do need to watch Army of the Dead. I like Zack Snyder as a filmmaker, and
Hmm.
there's probably a reason it was so big. And then Cruella, starring Emma Stone.
Yep.
I never watched that, but I've heard
Yeah,
heard
I did
things.
watch Cruella actually. I watched Cruella and A Quiet Place from May. Um, Cruella was good. I think Emma Stone really shines in it. Um, it the the storyline seemed very windy. Like, I really don't remember. Maybe I was high. I just remember thinking that this story was kind of difficult to follow. But also Cruella is telling a story from is it 101 Dalmatians or something like that?
Yeah.
And I'm not
Cruella
super
de Vil.
familiar with that children's story, so I was assuming that missing that background, um, which probably would not be the case for who the movie is marketed towards, which is, younger kids. Um, Although it has some pretty adult themes, for sure. Some very adult themes. That's what I remember thinking. But maybe, I'm not exactly sure who this movie is meant for, but
It's just for like anyone who's like, fuck it, I'll watch Cruella.
yeah, right. But it's like they've got like the movie starts with a murder
Her mom
happening.
being murdered by dogs.
Yeah, and it's kind of yeah, like I don't know, it's kind of terrifying. Like, which maybe I was high. Maybe I was high. I was sitting there thinking, God, what it would be like to get mauled off a cliff by dogs. Like,
yeah, and just like she just like watched that shit and was like, you know what? I'ma hate dogs.
yeah.
Which fair, frankly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that, or is that it for movies?
I think so. Not much happened really.
All right.
There.
TV shows. This was a big one for me. There were a few shows from May that I took part in watching. The Bad Batch, which we covered week to week here.
Yeah.
On the Bad Batch Bitches. Started May the 4th. Hacks on HBO Max is a comedy series that was just fucking hilarious. Believe it's starring Jean Smart, if I remember correctly. That's the woman's name. It's about an older comic who is kind of reaching the end of her career. Like, it's kind of like, all right, we need to like really revamp your shit, or else, you're probably going to be done. She had like a mainstay performance in Vegas. Like, people came to see her and stuff. Like, she's a pretty big deal. And then she starts getting help from a younger writer played by Hannah Einbinder, who kind of tries to revamp, and their rapport is basically the entire show.
Yeah.
It's very funny though, and if you like comedy and stand up comedy on the whole, it kind of gets into the nitty gritty of what that's like. And then the last show from May that I watched was MODOK, and Marvel's MODOK on Hulu.
Yeah.
Animated in that Robot Chicken style. It's also very funny. But again, comic book movie, TV shows for 2021, that's a whole other episode, and I think I touched on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those three, I watched all those in May.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I haven't seen any of those yet. Music was, I think, a little better for me.
This was a good month. I mean, obviously we had the Off Season by J. Cole.
Yeah,
that's a big one. And this was like the big example I was thinking of when I said like artists I enjoy who put out albums this year that I just don't revisit.
Yeah,
I don't listen to the Off Season.
I don't listen to the Off Season either. As much as I did listen to it for a solid, I probably listened to it until July or August. Like, I did listen to it for a couple months. Because particularly while I was in North Carolina, I remember listening to it. And I didn't go until June, July. But yeah, it just it wasn't a full project. It was something to hold us over, and I think it held us over. I don't crave anything from J. Cole right now. Like, just do your thing. When we get it.
It did what it was supposed to.
And it'll be great. Whatever he puts out next is going to be great. I do still crave things from Kendrick. I cannot lie, especially after his appearance on Baby Keem stuff. So
I deeply crave.
Still waiting on that. Still waiting on that.
Top of the morning. Let's get this shit.
Yeah.
No, that shit rock. But we also got a Georgia Smith release with Be Right Back,
Oh.
which I have listened to thoroughly throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
That's one I have revisited. Georgia Smith doing her fucking thing. She's awesome at singing. She sings her ass off.
Mm-hmm.
Not much more to it. We got Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. And fuck Scalpers on Ticketmaster. I was trying to go see Olivia Rodrigo in St. Louis on 420. That ain't gonna work anymore.
Really?
Them tickets like $700. Fuck no.
Yo, that's crazy. I really feel like the Olivia Rodrigo thing just still hasn't hit for me. Like I don't understand how she got so famous so quickly. Like I really do not.
Well, it's actually interesting. She's actually had like a career.
Exactly,
Like
which is what I found when I look into it. But I'm like,
she saw her rise very, very quickly, and I think it can be partially owed to High School Musical, the series, which she's the lead in.
Oh, okay. I did not know that part. So she's another Disney star, basically.
Interestingly enough, she kind of basically because you know, like
she comes from that formula, the actors, made
basically,
singers, made
like I think
international
that first
superstars.
season came out a year before she like really, really blew up.
Well, that's how it
Yeah.
goes. Like the Demi Lovato was on, and Selena Gomez were on on Disney for years before they really
Right.
we knew of them because we were watching Disney Channel at that point in time.
Right.
But oh yeah, that's actually, and I also I can't lie, it just doesn't wow me. Her music just doesn't wow me. I don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. It just doesn't wow me. It just sounds like pop music, which confuses me because everyone else, it seems like it has that it factor.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm right. I'm right there with you. I don't think it. I'm not a huge pop music guy, and therefore, like, none of it's really gonna wow me. It's got to be like really original and really just jaw dropping for it to get me.
Mm-hmm.
I think a big reason why Olivia Rodrigo got so much love straight off the bat is because she's the first example of someone that Taylor Swift fans point to and go, that's next.
Yeah.
That's the next coming.
That's fair. That's fair.
And Taylor Swift's one of the biggest artists in the world. And I'm only saying this because my girlfriend is one of the biggest Taylor Swift fans I've ever met in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And she fell in love with Olivia Rodrigo immediately, and then the whole Swiftie community is like huge on Olivia Rodrigo.
Yeah.
They love Olivia Rodrigo. So she definitely saw a rise through that a little bit too. But yeah, she's also really talented, and she's also only 17 or 18 or something like that too.
Yeah.
So like she's young as fuck.
Yeah.
And already one of the biggest artists on the planet, 7-time Grammy nominated, selling out tours.
I have so much more respect for young people who get famous and don't do fuck shit now that I'm like, because I'm like, yeah, if I was giving speeches at the White House at 17, I would maybe get a little bit of a big head. I feel like, I'm like, all these other kids can't fuck with me. Like I'm going places. Everyone else sucks. Like it can be easy to fall into that hole,
especially because like you're a kid.
You're a kid, yeah.
Like you don't have a fully. You don't have. Like I don't have a fully developed brain. I'm 21.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like it should be illegal to do anything until you're 26.
Yeah. But also, I've realized I think I would hate being famous. Like that would be my worst nightmare. Like
oh god, that seems like hell.
Like I've been seeing all this stuff about coming back up about how Tobey Maguire's like a dick to paparazzi and shit. And like on one level, he is a dick, but on another level, he's not any different than what it is like to have interactions with people in public all the time. Like you fucking
Cars there, motherfucker.
yeah, like it's like this is like we expect Tobey Maguire to be like this like person who's gracious and nice because he plays Peter Parker, or played Peter Parker. But no, Tobey Maguire's willing to cut through all that bullshit to say, "Hey, you fucking idiots! I know this is your job. There are fucking cars there." Like sometimes you just got to put it to them straight. Like
Right.
you're doing your job
Um,
poorly. I respect Tobey Maguire.
Oh, greatly respect Tobey Maguire.
Uh,
Uh,
a funny thing about the Spider-Man movies that I realized that I found I've watched some like YouTube documentaries on Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire.
mm,
All of them have ended up dating their
MJ, Gwen Stacy.
yeah in real life, and apparently someone told Tom Holland when he first started the role of Spider-Man, they're like, just don't do it, just don't do
It goes
it. It
bad.
goes bad,
It ends bad.
and he did it. But
They all
also,
did.
it's
No, and
Zendaya.
what's hilarious is that like Toby and Kirsten Dunst hooked up, and then like that went bad. So they went to Andrew and Emma Stone, and were like, y'all can't do it either. Like you really can't. It's gonna be. And then they had a real life romance, and it was like fuck.
Yep.
And then they were like, all right, Tom, all right, Z, this cannot happen.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay.
Okay. I can't imagine the conversation they had to have with like whoever when that photo got leaked of them making out in the car.
They're sitting like Kevin Feige called them into his office. It's like the intercom. It's like boop. Tom Holland and Zendaya to the principal's office.
Yeah. It's kind of funny though that I still think about Zendaya as kind of a teenage character, and she's probably gonna reprise the early 20s teenage character for a long time. But she's I don't know how old she is. Let me look it up. But I have a
She's older
suspicion.
than me.
Yeah, I have a suspicion that she's pretty old by now. Like,
I mean, 25 at the youngest, or 25, right around there.
she was born 1996, which means
25.
she's 25.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. She, that's just, I mean, that's right. Because I think back to like 2012 when she was in like Shake It Up and shit when I was a kid.
God, was that 2012? That had to be.
It might have been earlier.
Yep, she's 25. She was born
2010 to 2013. Wow. Shake It Up.
She's from Oakland. I didn't know
that. Yeah. I think that might be part of why they feature Oakland rap music so heavy in Euphoria. Actually, she likes them too short.
You got it. You got it. Actually, I guarantee you that's why that happened. Wow.
Right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But some other releases in May that I enjoyed, that I have since listened to, Exodus by DMX. Mm-hmm. I didn't listen to it for months. I didn't, because the whole, I've gone over this too. The whole posthumous album thing is always real hard for me to like get behind. Just like, where's the money going and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a DMX album. Mm-hmm. He raps his ass off, as he was one to do. Yeah, and then the last one from a couple of artists that I absolutely fucking love, Super What by Czarface and MF Doom.
Okay.
Czarface has been one that I've really, really liked for a few years now, because he does this whole comic booky theme thing. Uh-huh. They do this whole comic booky theme thing with their releases, and MF Doom has always been a big proponent of that vibe too. Uh-huh. And they have a lot of collabs, and Super What just kept that going.
Yeah. There was a
pretty awesome.
Is Czarface a group?
Yes, it's like a Inspector Deck, and here, let me find it. It was founded by 7L and Esoteric, along with Wu-Tang Clan member Inspector Deck. Yeah.
Also in May we had YG and Mozzie's Community Service. Did you listen? You listened to that, and I think you recommended that to me. That is a phenomenal project.
And YG, another guy in that Rick Ross lane for me.
Yeah, I agree. Because it was interesting because I've always liked Mozzie too, but when you put YG next to Mozzie, it just became so apparent that YG was an elder at this point, and Mozzie was where YG was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Right.
Because he just it seemed like, particularly I'm thinking of the YG, Mozzie, and Young M.A. song. That was my favorite track from that project. But Young M.A. and YG seemed like they killed their verses, and I just kind of got taken out of it when Mozzie came on. Not because it was a bad verse, it just didn't wow me like Young M.A. and YG did.
Young M.A. can fucking spit.
God.
One of the nastiest flows I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
It's just fascinating how much they miss sometimes. Yeah.
They do miss sometimes.
Plenty.
Yeah. And I think it may just be a West Coast thing. I feel like West Coast artists have always done this thing where they're just like, there's something about the culture out there that, we just don't relate to, I guess, having not grown up on the West Coast.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but I mean, Benny the Butcher and 38 Special put out Trust the Sopranos. Nicki Minaj. She didn't put out
the first song on Trust the Sopranos samples this song called Jane, which is the theme song to Wet Hot American Summer. That dude, I fucking love it.
I don't think I've actually listened to that one because I've been I did listen. Oh, is this the one? Yeah, I think I did listen to this one. Oh no, I'm thinking of Benny the Butcher.
Also.
What?
There were a few Benny the Butcher albums this year.
There were. I was thinking of this one actually came out in 2020. Benny the Butcher and DJ Drama presents Black Soprano Family. That's a solid project. So, DJ Drama is another one of those people who's kind of like he's had a year. DJ
Drama.
And I was like,
you all got a toes out too.
I was just like, DJ Drama, like he seems to do nothing but everything. You know?
That's right. Does that conclude May?
I believe so. Yeah.
On to June, and this is one of the more uneventful months of the year. Interestingly enough, for me, anyway, on my end, a couple movies: Luca on Disney Plus, animated film, and In the Heights on HBO Max and in theaters, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda, starring Anthony Ramos.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking a lot about why I didn't like In the Heights. Because I really enjoy Hamilton, which we've been over a couple times. Songs written by Lin-Manuel Miranda, whole script written by Lin-Manuel Miranda. I figured out that I think Lin-Manuel Miranda's songs are more impressive when performed on stage.
That's fair. I mean, it seems like that's what it's like. The musical format is kind of geared towards live action.
It's what it's for.
Yeah.
And In the Heights, for my money, should have been made in the same way that Hamilton on Disney Plus is, filmed on stage with cameras set up, performing it like it's a play.
Yeah.
I think the movie format was interesting and it works on certain levels, but it's just not great to me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. And he apparently his new movie, have you seen it?
Oh, okay. And I can't, that's we'll get there.
There was also Fast 9 or F9 came out.
Did not see it.
Obviously, Did not see it. I think they're bringing the Fast and Furious movies to HBO next year, so I'll probably watch them once they're
I'll be
on
doing it
there.
then.
But I've missed like probably the last three. Like just because I know that they're not what I want what I want from the Fast and Furious movies, which is a racing. Like, how do they not understand this? Like the cars that they were putting in the original Fast and Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious, uh,
Tokyo Drift and shit.
Tokyo Drift, all those cars. Well, first of all, those movies were actually built around this idea of street racing, and all of the cars became iconic for street racers. Like, I've been playing a lot of Need for Speed, and so they have this really cool thing on Need for Speed where you can download wraps for your car, like designs for your car, offline. So people spend a bunch of time doing these really detailed ones. And the most popular ones that you see Brian's skyline from Too Fast Too Furious. You see Brian slash Vin Diesel's Supra from the first one. Um, you see the Evo X from Too Fast Too Furious. Like you see cars from from these movies, but the last six nobody gives a fuck about any of the cars that were in that movie.
They've gone this direction where it's like, all of a sudden, this is the group saving the fucking world?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, no, that's not what this was supposed to be.
No.
What the fuck?
They need to fucking like just they need to put aliens in there somehow because that'll.
No, they're gonna make it to space. Like, have you seen that? Like, Fast 10 and Fast 11, like, are apparently like
They're actually planning to do those.
Oh yeah, those are already in development. One of them they want to take the franchise to space. And I've also read that someone wants Fast 11 to be a musical.
Whoa, no. If I get Vin Diesel singing, like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. It'll be hilarious. It won't work.
It would be hilarious. It would be hilarious. I'll give you that. But you got any other movies for?
No, I didn't really see much from June. I don't think.
Then I'll talk on Luca for a second. It's a Pixar movie that came out on Disney. I watched a lot of the animated shit this year. I have a lot of love in my heart for the animated category and stuff. That was another really cute one. It's not it's not Wall-E, but it's good.
Yeah. There you go. A24 put out a film. They put out Zola. I don't know anything about that, but
oh, you don't know nothing about Zola?
No.
All right, so there was a Twitter thread. That movie's based off a Twitter thread.
It's based off of a Twitter thread.
Yeah, in which the whole story, like this chick sends out this whole Twitter thread that's like tweets and tweets and tweets long. Like it is super long, and it's this whole story about this night she had with and I've read the Twitter thread, and I wish for the life of me I could remember what it was for real.
Yeah.
But it was definitely something that was like, yo, this could be a movie, and then they made a fucking movie. And I never saw it, but it's definitely one that I'd be interested in seeing. Like I think it'd be entertaining.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I might have to figure out where to watch that. Yeah, I think that's it. That was significant.
All right. Well, that takes us to shows and another comic book movie one, Loki. No need to talk on that too much, but that was all for TV shows in the way of June for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then music, I only have 3 here. Culture 3 by Migos, Planet Her by Doja Cat, and Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator.
Yeah. I thought that Migos Culture 3 was underwhelming. I didn't listen to the Doja Cat. I'm surprised you listened to the Doja Cat. What went into that?
Doja Cat's kind of nice.
You like Doja Cat? I couldn't get past
she's all right. Like she's got enough songs where I'm like, yeah, all right, I can listen to this.
I know. I just was immediately turned off from her for 2 things. One, her online personality, like, and not that she does anything bad. Like she doesn't do anything bad online. it just seems too much. It seems too obviously a ploy in a lot of senses. Like, it just seems like she is, yeah, I don't know, trying to create a ploy to get, I don't know. I don't know. Like, the whole thing with her, like,
She
showing,
seems
she
crazy.
was like, if this gets such and such likes, I'll show my boobs. Fucking, of course it's gonna get whatever. It's gonna surpass whatever amount of, like, because, like, don't you understand that part of your role as a celebrity is to be sexualized? Like, it's unfortunate, it's bad, shouldn't be that way, but that's the way that the music industry precisely works, is through the sexualization of its women. And that's why I think that this whole conversation about, which we can talk about later, but the whole Billie Eilish thing, and how she has been sexualized throughout her career. Um, it's really interesting because she came out with a video, I think, where she was kind of like talking about how she wants to fight back against that notion that um, like she's needs to be expected to dress a certain way, because she was talking about how when people would tell her how I appreciate how you um, don't wear like um, you wear like enough clothes, like you're not trying to show off your body or anything. And she would take that as, oh, so like you're just happy I'm fitting your conservative expectations of me. Um, that's not any better than, I think, to her. That's not much better than being sexualized, you know. And it's like, I don't know. There's a lot there.
Yeah, there certainly is. But Doja Cat's album had a few really good songs. Ain't Shit, I listen to pretty regularly. Kiss Me More featuring SZA, that's a good one. Options featuring JID. You Right featuring The Weeknd. She's got some good ones on there. Catchy as shit. But yeah, the obvious standout from this month for me is Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler.
Yeah.
And again, not one I revisit a ton, but it was good.
Right. I would urge you to listen to Sleepy Hollow. Are you familiar with Sleepy Hollow yet?
Mm-hmm.
Put out Still Sleep in June. That was pretty solid. Lil Durk and Lil Baby put out The Voice of the Heroes. I wasn't super impressed by it when I listened to it, because I mean, it's Lil Durk and Lil Baby. Like, I was like, they're gonna do something, right? And it was all right, but it didn't really get me. And then um, Kodak Black. We didn't mention this about May, but Kodak Black put out projects in May and June, neither of which I listened to, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, I haven't listened to Kodak Black in a couple of years.
I have not either.
Liquidating on legacy, you winning.
Logic Young Sinatra Collection Volume 1. That came out. Yeah, debuted at 56 on the billboards, which is behind where Ski Mask the Slump God debuted with his Sin City the mixtape, which was at number 39. So just the fact that Logic has had probably twice the length of the career that Ski Mask has had, and Ski Mask is outranking him at this point, I think that explains a lot.
It does. It does. I'm not gonna lie to you. So far, if I had to pick the most underwhelming month of the year, I think it's June.
In terms of music?
Across the board. Movies, TV, music. Yeah. January gives it a little bit of a run for its money simply because of the lack of stuff we got. But in terms of getting a few things, and collectively it being mostly all right, a few good things. Yeah, I think I'd say that one's the most underwhelming for me so far.
I would agree.
And thus, that concludes part 1 of 2 of 2021's Pop Culture in Review, a month at a time. You know, this was January through June. Next episode will be July through December. It should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that.
I think that sort of the first half of this year was still kind of slowly building back up from just the stoppage of all production of things at the end of last year.
I'd say the same.
2020. a lot of cool things came out, these next couple months.
Yeah, I'd say the latter half of the year is certainly the stronger half of the year.
Yeah.
Especially on the movies front, there are some fucking bangers in the last half of the year. The next episode is really where it's at. It's really where it's at. So go check that out. And hell yeah, I was Colton Robertson, joined by Tavarus Pennington. Thank you very much, buddy.
Yes, indeed. It's been a blast.
It has been a blast, and yeah, man, I'm excited to talk to you again to discuss, July through December.
Yeah.
If you would, head to patreon.com/CoroBloom, where you'll find well over 21 hours of exclusive content at this point with some art that I put up over there, digital paintings, graphic design, stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. All that money helps me in putting this podcast on. It's all it's used for at the moment. Don't have enough money, and it doesn't even pay for it. It just partially helps. But so yeah, that'd be huge. And then head to Twitter and follow at PennyBloomPod. Follow on Instagram at PennyBloomPodcast. And remember, peace, love, and bloom. And always praise Keanu Reeves.